Welcome to the podcast Life After Addiction and Indictment. I'm your host, Steve Cloward, and I spent most of the last decade and well over $100,000 on coaches, consultants, masterminds, and events trying to figure out how to reclaim my life again. On this podcast, I'm going to share the tools, the tips, the tricks, and the hacks that allowed me to forgive myself so that I could reclaim my life again. I'll be interviewing experts in mindset, leadership, entrepreneurship, sales, marketing, branding, and so much more. I'm glad you're here. Sit back and relax and enjoy the show.
Let's go! This is Life After Addiction and Indictment.
Hey folks, welcome back to Life After Addiction and Indictment. Today I've got a gentleman who I'm really excited to talk to. I've been reading about his past, and he's got a phenomenal story, and I'm just excited to get into that. And he's got a lot of valuable life lessons and wisdom that will really help those of you out who are maybe struggling with addiction or, have gotten sober, but you've got something still holding you back. And you're just not quite sure how to break through that. So I want to welcome to the show today, Aren Bahia. Appreciate you being here, Aren.
Nailed it. You nailed the last name. Everybody messes it up. They all call me Aren Bahia. You nailed it. You nailed it.
Well, thanks for having me here.
I'm so stoked to be here. Any chance I'm able to help and get people some insight on addiction and recovery and living a successful life in terms of happiness and contentment, that's what's up. That's like, I'm so stoked to do that. It's been such a crazy journey with drugs and addictions and criminal activities to now be, I guess what I would want to be is an agent of love and positivity, and just doing cool shit. And I enjoy that. I love that.
It's so interesting as human beings, typically if someone were to see you, and I'm just speaking real talk here, just the judgment as human beings that we have. I remember as a kid, long time ago, and it was probably quite a bit different than it is today, as tattoos are really becoming, fairly mainstream, frankly.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that on another time together, because I've got some questions on that for you. I've got one tattoo, but I remember if I saw some, dude, maybe it was, you just have this judgment that it's a scary dude, or whatever.
Totally.
It's so cool to hear, and to read what I've read about what you're doing and stuff, and hear you say love, and, really the love and light is really what things about. And so, and I can just, I think as me, in my addiction and what people talk to me about, as far as the way I looked in my eyes versus now, and just looking at you, dude, I can just see that, that radiant, that energy of positivity. And it's beautiful. And so, let's talk about a little bit about kind of what got you involved in drugs and kind of how long you fought that until you kind of, whatever it was that got you to realize, man, I want to make a change. I'm not happy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in a pretty rough area in East Vancouver, Canada, and it was very, very common. Drug dealing was huge in my neighborhood. It was just everybody did it. It's such an expensive city. Everybody knew somebody. And I remember when my
T-ball all types of drugs, or was there specific, cocaine, or just whatever?
Vancouver has a massive drug problem: heroin, opioids, cocaine. Everybody smokes and grows weed here. Weed was like the first thing I ever experienced drugs was finding my best friend's dad, my T-ball coach, his grow up in his basement. And we were 12 years old, and we walked into this, and he's like, I got to show you something. And we walked into this basement, and I just saw all these huge 6-foot tall pot trees with tinfoil on the walls and all these lights. And I was like, what is this? And it was the best and worst thing to happen to a young teenage boy, because we had unlimited free weed. And then soon after that, we started selling it to get money to buy bottles to drink with our girlfriends, like 15 years old, stealing our parents' cars. We were little shits. And it was just like a rough area. We're all just little hood rat kids. Yeah. And from there, it went into, trying ecstasy. Horrible. First time doing ecstasy, I got bit by a police dog. We were bad little kids. Yeah, we were bad. That's crazy. Blue dolphin ecstasy. I won't forget that one. And so then it went into partying on the weekends, partying heavily. But then I started dealing drugs when I was in my just getting kicked out of high school in grade 12. We were really, I experienced trauma at a young age in terms of like a major concussions and brain injuries in ice hockey, and then it went into I found my grandfather dead, and I was the only one home, and he passed away natural causes. But it was really hard for me because that was when my arm
How
was.
old were you when that happened?
I was 16.
Oh,
So
man.
my arm was bit up by the police dog, and I had to pull him out of the bathtub. It was quite traumatic and difficult. I didn't have the tools at that age to deal with it, and so that was really difficult for me. And I noticed I separated from my emotional body and was more so in this space of distancing from my dad. Me and him had a really tough relationship, and I went into drug dealing because I was able to have like kind of a place in the pack. I had my boys. We were finally cool. I got bullied growing up. It belonged to something, and no one would mess with us. And that's what I wanted. I just wanted validation. I didn't want to be bullied. And the drugs were helping. Then when I got introduced to Percocets and Oxycontin at around 22, it was like, oh wow, this is the feeling that I had always been missing. It was like a hug from the sun. It was just like, oh, like finally, like feeling the wholeness I wanted, because I didn't have the tools at that age. I didn't have the ability to self-validate myself. So everything that was validating me at that age was fancy shit. So I had Louis Vuitton and Gucci. I was dealing drugs. I was sending it across the country. I was building my network as I started, 20, 22, 23, 24. I really started then nationwide and making a lot of money at that young age. And the more I made, the more drugs I did, because I just figured, well, I'm successful. I can do drugs. It's no problem. I'm immortal. I'm young. This won't affect my health. And I was doing a crazy amount of drugs, and that behavior just snowballed into, at one point I had about a $15,000 a month habit. That was the street price. My price was probably about $5,000, which is still a crazy amount of drugs to be doing. I was doing about 23 Oxy 80s a day, crushing them, snorting them, going to the bathroom every 15, 20, 30 minutes. I'm out to eat with my friends and family. I go to the bathroom, I'd be crushing the pills and snorting them off the top of the toilet. I was a nutcase. And I really saw these like big rock bottoms where I was just like, okay, my girlfriend left me. I tried to get clean, and it was absolutely horrible. And I did cold turkey withdrawals, vomiting, just the worst, just shivers, the worst feeling. Horrible. You're psychotic. I remember because it was the Sochi Olympics. Remember the Russian Olympics, and I remember cold turkey withdrawals, watching the Sochi Olympics and watching like documentaries on Vladimir Putin. I couldn't sleep all night. So I'm watching this like Vladimir Putin like documentaries, just like it was just the worst. I'll never forget that. And I at the time then one of my close friends of mine, he overdosed on the same drugs I was doing, and I went to his funeral, saw his mom crying, and I was a week clean. And I couldn't process trauma. I couldn't process grief. Seeing his mom crying, seeing my friend dead, it broke my heart. I relapsed of the same drugs he was doing. The connections weren't there. I didn't have logic. I just had
which is crazy, because most people think that would really push you to get clean, but I get it. Yeah, I get it.
So my girlfriend left me when she saw that I relapsed, and I remember I was 163 pounds, and I'm not a small guy. I'm 6'2". I'm 207 pounds right now. I was 163, looking at myself in the mirror, just a skeleton. I remember crying, looking in the mirror, like, wow, my life is shit. I'm supposed to be this boss drug dealer, and I'm a junkie. And so I went to rehab, and I went to this rehab. I paid for myself like $6,000 to go to the cheapest rehab I could find in Vancouver. And it was called Maple Ridge Treatment Center. And the day I walked in, it was a bunch of guys that just got out of prison, that this was their probation to go get clean. And I paid to be there, but these guys had to be there. And I just remember that when I got there, I was just like, what am I fucking doing here? And I ended up, like, my mind, the way it worked was, I can get these guys to start working for me. And that's how I thought, it's just like opportunistic every chance I got. It was crazy. So obviously I didn't stay clean for too long. I experienced more emotional trauma, more physical trauma. I was like, okay, I relapsed. It took me 5 tries to get clean. It's not like you're fixed type of thing. And so I did this plant medicine. I started seeing a counselor, and I did this plant medicine called iboga. And have you heard of iboga?
I've read a lot about it. I really want to do one of those,
I'd recommend it.
All the different experiences that you possibly have. It's I've read a lot about it just in the last couple of months. I listened to a great podcast that you need to listen to, Sean Ryan, the Sean Ryan Show. Sure. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, and he did it. And he talks walks through his experience. It's just fascinating. But anyway,
it's not easy. It's not like,
it
ayahuasca
scares the crap out of me, honestly, to think about doing it, even though I want to.
It's so intense. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
ayahuasca is supposed to be is like the grandmother showing you the connectivity of the universe and how we're all one. Iboga is like your stern father telling you how much of a fuck up you are over and over and over again, and you just have to take it. It's looping. It keeps looping. So it was just so difficult. And then the days, because I paid like $7,000 cash. Obviously, I was a drug dealer for this week-long treatment of flood doses. So it's just you're getting.
Did you do a controlled setting at a facility? Like a retreat
facilitated.
Or something?
These guys, this is crazy. So these guys were working with the University of British Columbia for case studies to get funding from the government for this. They used me as a case study. They had never experienced anyone in their entire studies who had done more drugs than me and had the access to this much drugs. I had a Scarface level of drug availability. I couldn't possibly do more drugs. Like it was just a small part of my profits. So I just kept doing, and they couldn't believe how much I was doing. They're like, this is amazing, you're alive. And I'm like, yeah, I seem to have 9 lives. So I'm hard to kill. So and I was going through this Iboga trip, and the next day, they're like, okay, you can watch TV, but you don't watch anything violent because it'll come back in the next day of sittings because it'll stay in your subconscious mind and it'll loop. So nothing scary, nothing violent, happy things only. Okay. So I watched all the documentaries on happiness I could. I watched, all the little happy shows until I kind of ran out of Netflix to watch. And I got to this one movie that changed my life. And the one woman that changed my life, Julia Roberts, Eat, Pray, Love.
I listened to one of your YouTube's talks.
That's why I Ink, Pray, Love on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I booked a flight, head to Bali alone, still a drug dealer, diamond earrings, Louis Vuitton shirt.
What made you decide to do that, and why Bali? And
when I saw the market scene, when she's in Ubud, Bali, and this spiritual market, this woman's doing these prayers, it hit me. That struck me so hard. I always knew I was curious into spirituality, and there's a spiritual side of me, and I loved like Thai Buddhism, I loved Zen Buddhism, but like I was still chaos internally, but I knew I needed to go that route. And when I saw that scene of prayer and devotion in Ubud in Bali, I was like, whatever that is, I need it. I didn't even know what she was doing, but I just knew I needed that. It struck me, and I was wide open from the Iboga, and I was like, I have to go there.
Yes.
Whatever that is, I just have to go there. And so I show up by myself at this place called Yoga Barn, which is like hippie central, green juice all around. And I'm like tatted out drug dealer. And I'm just like, I want to do yoga. And I met my first teacher, who I did a teacher training with her, Denise Payne. And she was like a tatted out yoga mom, and she took me under her wing, and we butt heads a lot because I was still early in the path. I was going on Tinder dates during my teacher training. I was partying. I was
ego and pride really there.
I was still doing international drug deal as well as in a yoga teacher training. So I was just a weird person. Yeah. And because I didn't know how to drop that yet.
Right.
Because I was more addicted to the identity and the money than I was the drugs. And I still thought I could be this powerful ego guy, this hot shot, and be clean, which was a joke. There's no way. I could not do it.
Yeah.
So I had to then go back to Vancouver, and I wanted to get out of the game and move to Bali. I just knew I had to do this, but it was the hardest 6 months of my life. Trying to get out of the drug game was so hard. It was
I can't imagine.
It was such deeply rooted in who I am, who I was. And the rock bottom was when, my best friend of 20 years, he was going through his addiction. He was doing some pretty bad shit. I never would rob anybody or steal, but he was in it. And some guys wanted to kill him. He had a hit out on his head. And while I was in Bali, he was driving my pickup truck because his girlfriend set his on fire because he cheated on her. I was like, bro, you need to make better life decisions. Luckily, he's married with kids, and he did get shot.
Worked out,
from that, but he survived. But so he had my truck. I sent him, I think 20, 30 pounds of weed when he moved out east to set him up. And then he wasn't paying me. And I owed a bunch of scary people this money, but they liked me. So I'm still friends with them. They're good. They're my buddies where we grew up together, but I don't do any of that stuff anymore. So I owed these guys 60 grand. He's not paying. We're threatening I'm threatening to kidnap him and get the money. Like I got to the point where I was, it sent me so deep into my addiction that like, this is my best friend that he taught me how to drive. Like we grew up together.
Wow.
I used to speak Spanish going to his mom's house because I learned from him. He used to come to my house and
Wow.
my grandma would make him dinner. Like we were close. We came up together.
Yeah.
So I was heartbroken, like really heartbroken. And I didn't know how to deal with the emotional pain. I didn't have the skills to deal with the trauma and pain.
We're never taught how to deal with that stuff, you know?
Exactly.
Like,
there needs to be a class in
and
school.
everybody has, everybody goes through something, you know?
Yes.
And
yes.
That's a huge problem.
When's the last time you used trigonometry?
Exactly, dude. The whole educational system is worthless, absolutely worthless. That's
why don't we just not learn that and learn emotional intelligence? How about that?
Exactly.
So, it probably would have saved us a lot of drugs. So I was heartbroken from that, and I had a really, really stressful real estate development deal that I was using this to try to get out of the game, and one went south. And so I was doing all the work myself, and I was burning myself out. I was renovating, I was doing the flooring, I was doing the demo, I was doing everything I could to try to save. So I was burning out. And so things were quite difficult, but also at the time, I was doing more drugs than ever. And the rock bottom was, I was doing this drug deal in a hotel, and it was a couple kilos of blow. It worked out, and I'm leaving their room, and I passed out in the hallway. And I was so high when it happened, I just kind of fainted. And when I woke up, I was surrounded by like 8 big white guys, and I'm like, oh no! And they're like paramedics, police officers, hotel security, and firefighters. And they're like, sir, you've passed out. Are you okay? And in my suitcase, there was in my pocket, I had 3 cell phones. I had a half an ounce of blow, which was, personal what I was doing. I had a couple $1,000 just in 5s and 10s. Somebody paid me in that. So I had that in my pockets.
Wow.
Then I had a briefcase full of money. And in my truck, I had a handgun with a loaded silencer on it and like a whole bunch of other paraphernalia. So I was really like, this is bad. This would have been a prison sentence without a doubt. I would have gone to jail 100%. And they're like, we're going to take you to the hospital. And I'm like, okay. Like, they're not searching me. I'm looking at the cops. I'm feeling in my hands. I got all this drugs money and all this on me. They're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm totally fine. They're like, okay, like, we're going to take you to the hospital. I'm like, I'm good. I'm fine. They're like, we think you've overdosed on drugs, and either you can come sleep it off inside the police station or go to the hospital. I'm like, hospital it is. And then I go to the hospital, and I left as soon as I could. And I was just like, what is happening? Like, how do you be that stupid? You could have just gone to jail right now. How do you not fuck this up? Like, dude. And then I got super paranoid because I was like, wait a minute, why didn't they bust me? Like, why didn't they look in my, so then I thought I was under investigation. Yeah, I know. I was like, so paranoid. I'm like, okay, wait a minute, maybe I'm under investigation. And I was planning to leave already. I was going to move to Bali. So I was tried to push my leaving even faster, but my lawyer had a lawyer on retainer. He's like, don't make any sudden movements. If you're under investigation, you rushing out will, that will cause more heat. So I'm okay. So I had my flights booked. Now it was a month away. Now the day of the flight, I remember I sold all my stuff. I have people coming to my mom's place, paying my debts. I'm running money through money counters. I'm just in front of my parents. At this point, they knew because they couldn't not help that I was a drug dealer, and they knew I was getting out. So my parents were really supportive in that fact, where they're like, okay, change your life. And thank God my mom was a G in that way. She was really like, that's okay, cool. Like, you do what it takes to get out. And so she really had my back. She's a good mom. And so I go to the airport, but my friend had given me, I had needed enough drugs to get to Bali again to get clean, because I couldn't go like an hour without using. I get sick. I get sick. So I get to the airport and I have drugs on me, and I have to fly through with these drugs. I have OxyContin's fake Oxy-80s. I was doing fentanyl, and it was bad. And my friend had given me THC weed oil to make the flight a little bit better. Yeah. So I took it in the car, in the back seat with my parents and my girlfriend at the time. We're flying, she's moving there with me. And I took it, but I took a bit too much, and I didn't know how much to take. And when I got to the airport, you can't enter Bali without a flight out if you don't have a work visa. And I forgot about that. So I didn't have a flight out. We needed to book one while we're at the airport. So it wasted like 20, 30 minutes to like figure this out so we could get through the booking part. And so once I finally got my ticket and we're going through security, it starts kicking in. I start getting really high. I'm like, oh no, like I'm starting getting very stoned. And I'm like, oh God. And I'm starting to look very stoned. I'm like,
Yeah.
and they start swabbing all my stuff, but I'm like, you idiots. I Lysoled everything. I'm a drug dealer. I know how to do this shit. I'm like, and I get through the airport security and we have an hour wait. I'm really stoned at this point. And I'm like, okay, I buy like Despicable Me headphones for no reason. My girlfriend's like, stop wasting money. We're leaving. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Relax. And I go to the bathroom, do another line. And finally we're waiting to get onto the plane. And they check my ticket. I get onto that corridor to get onto the plane.
Yeah.
As I get onto the corridor of the plane, there's 8 border security agents and a police dog waiting there. And I'm like, oh, we don't know. And I'm so high. They look directly at me and they see this Indian drug dealer looking guy with a man purse, a Louis Vuitton shirt, diamond earrings, a hot girlfriend. And they're like, you come over here. I'm like, oh shit.
Wow.
I go, oh no. I'm like, they're not going to let me leave. I was under investigation. They're stopping me before I can go. I'm going directly to jail. Do not pass go. Withdrawals in a prison cell. I'm like, oh fuck. So like, where are you going? I'm like, Bali. And I'm so high. I can barely talk. They're like, okay. How long are you going for? I'm like, I don't know, like 2-3 months. Like, how do you not know how long you're going for? I'm like, I'm just going to go, experience life out there for a little while and change it up. They're like, are you running away from something? I'm like, oh no. God. I'm like, I'm bombing it because I'm stammering. I'm just too high to even comprehend this. I'm like a deer in headlights. I can't right now. So he's like, okay, sir, you're acting very suspicious. Let's go to secondary questioning. I'm like, oh,
damn.
fuck. Like, oh no. I'm my girlfriend's like freaking out. They take us out of the corridor, out into the main area. And he's like, okay. And I see they had stopped someone else, but I didn't quite register it. And at this point, I'm like, man, I'm done. They're just I'm done. I'm not going to Bali. I'm going to jail. I was under investigation. And the little like East Van hood rat in me comes out and I get a little lippy and I go, look, man, if this is just for me, let's get this over with. And he looks at me. He's like, what? This is a routine check. Why would you say that? And I'm like, oh no. And my girlfriend's like, shut the fuck up, I'm ruining this. I'm ruining this situation. So he's like, okay, sir, if we take your bag off the plane, what are we going to find? And I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, clothes. But really, I had a secondary set of identification that like I used to rent apartments. So I'd get caught with fraud right there. I had like probably 20 Oxycontin pills on me. I had a big bottle of methadone, but it was poured into a NyQuil bottle. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not going to be, clean and squeaky clean here. And he's like, okay, how much cash do you have on you? And I was like, I had like $3,000. I knew you can't fly over 10 grand.
Yeah,
so I was finding ways to get there. So, okay. So, okay, let me see the cash. And I showed him the money. He's okay. So we're going to take your baggage off the plane. And I'm like, so I'm going to miss my flight. I'm like, so I'm like, really, my heart is in my stomach and just then he's taking the walkie-talkie to call it off the plane. Just then, the other guy they stopped, which was like some Vietnamese uncle, I hear, fuck you, you're taking my liberty. And he screams at them with his fingers up. And there's 4 agents with him and the dog is barking at them. The entire airport turns and looks. We're in Vancouver International Departure Stop. They all look at us. There's hundreds of people. And they all look at Vietnamese uncle screaming, dog barking, border security agents, brown drug dealer guy, hot girlfriend. They all look at us. Oh God. They're like, sir, are you threatening us? He goes, fuck you, and screams.
No way.
And so they pounce on him. He's resisting arrest. It's this huge scene, this crazy scene. And the agent who was dealing with us looks at this and it's hectic. He looks at us and I'm like, hey man, can you let us go? We're just trying to go to Bali. And he looks at that. He looks at us. He goes, okay, go. And he lets us go. Oh my God. We get back on the runway to the plane. And all the corridor, all the stewardesses are waiting for us. We're the last people on the door. They're like, come on. We get onto the plane. Everyone's looking at us. Everyone on the plane heard, fuck you, you're taking my liberty. Are you threatening us? Fuck you. And we walk on. They're like, and we're like, oh my God. We look at our seats. It's all the way in the back middle row. We're like, Oh God, 84F. We had to go through everybody looking at us. They're like, everyone's staring at us. We're just like, oh God. We go in, it's the seats in the middle. There's this little Chinese grandma. I'm like, excuse me. Just get up. We have to go down. She's like, what happened? I'm like, nah, don't, no one talk to me right now. I'm just like, please take off, please take off, please take off. Finally, the plane takes off. Oh my God. Okay.
Wow.
I got to go to the bathroom. I go in the bathroom and I just have this moment where I was just like, I couldn't process this amount of emotions. It was like I could cry and laugh at the same time, like ecstatic joy and this emotional turmoil I had just been through. Like it was so intense. Like if you almost get in a car accident, you're like, oh, type of feeling, you know? And I just thought to myself, that was an act of God. That was divine intervention. That was guardian angels. That right there was the universe showing me you almost couldn't have made it. Yeah, exactly. You are meant to now make your life something. You have to devote your life to service. You got to help other people. You have a higher purpose here. And that was it showing how bad you want it. We're going to give this to you, but you know, you're very lucky to get out. And I was like, okay, God, I promise I will devote my life to service. And then I did another line off the toilet because I was a drug addict because I needed to get clean. And then I got clean in Bali. And since then, I launched 7 businesses in 7 years. I devoted myself to charity work and compassion and connection, and started coaching and helping others, you know, get through their shit. I'm helping drug dealers get out of the game now and launch businesses, and anybody else who wants to, you know, helping CEOs with mindset help. That was the journey in, and to actually make it to my new lease on life.
Yeah, that's incredible, you know, but like, as you were, you know, you started mentioning that guy was kind of being the reason that you're going to be able to go. I'm like, there's no accident there, you know.
Thank you, Vietnamese uncle, wherever you are.
Exactly. After reading what you've been doing and how you're really making an impact, I mean, there's no doubt that was the reason, you know. And so, so what was it when you got there and stuff that really helped you overcome and learn how to deal with the past, the traumas and things, you know, that really made the difference in allowing you to keep yourself sober and to, you know, start the businesses and really help other people?
I think at the start it was yoga and just having a dedicated practice. I really having community and having a practice. Martial arts used to do it for me. Having a thing, like it doesn't need to be yoga for everyone, but it was really powerful for me because it unlocks stuck energy in your body. And then when you meditate after, and I couldn't sit with myself ever before that, but when I started practicing yoga, then I was able to start meditating. Before that, my mind was too chaotic and my heart was too chaotic. But through yoga, I was able to, that time on the mat is healing. And it's helpful for people. You know, a lot of people who are addicts go deep into the gym. They get super fit. Great. Physical practice, it is the key to then calming your mind and getting a handle on your emotions. So I went deep into yoga. I did 9 meditation retreats, 3 yoga teacher trainings, soul searching in India, a lot of travel to spiritual places, studying courses, classes, tantra, everything I could, personal development. I dove in super deep. I was always listening and reading a book. I was always doing some course or class. Every month I'd do something. And I spent all that money I made in drug money into my development and spent all of it. I just needed it out of my hands because I didn't want that energy around me. And then when I got rid of it all, I was able to start making money again and clearing the karma. And I finished my yoga teacher training, volunteering in the prison in Bali, the maximum security prison, and I was teaching there. And I'd drive an hour there, teach for an hour, drive an hour back. So I was able to clear my karmic bonds and do good. And the service element really helped me stay clean. That is so important. So important.
Huge. Yeah.
That's got to be a service.
I mean, it really comes, like I've said it many times on this show, for me, and I think you would agree, and I think it's really in this as human beings, is when you're doing something to help someone else, like, to me, there is no better feeling in life. There's no amount of money, there's no vacation, there's no nothing. I mean, that makes you feel the way that does when you know you're really helping someone, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That, to purpose will help us stay clean.
Exactly. And, you know, when you talked about, you know, kind of your journey and you mentioned the spiritual thing, I personally think that's where we're lost in this world. And we're so stuck in this, you call it the rat race, whatever you want to call it, because I really believe we're spiritual beings, you know, trapped in these beat suits, whatever you want to call them.
Exactly.
And for whatever reasons, that's a whole nother deep topics and many different rabbit holes to why that's all happened. And, from the food and all the crap out there that, were intentionally, in my opinion, dumbed down and, harmed. And because they don't want us to become that spiritual being and tap into that allows us to connect with whatever you want to call it, source, God, all, it doesn't matter. And so that's a really, that's something that I've been really going down the last year and a half, because
absolutely,
it's just so powerful, and I still have my struggles as far as my mind and calming it. That's one of the toughest things for me. And it's very frustrating. But, I keep pushing because, there's nothing you can't do if you put your mind to it,
Absolutely.
And if you add that piece like you have, where, you're focused on really making a difference to help other people, then, that's a winning combination.
I totally agree, and that really helped because I knew what I needed. It was a place in the community. Like I had no place in the community when I was a drug dealer. I wasn't a member of a society. I was totally doing weird shit. I was meeting cartel members. I was, flying across the world. I was just living a weird, crazy life. And I'm happy I did it because it showed me a lot about what I want in life and what I don't. And it showed me a lot about what type of person I wanted to be. And I didn't want to be around.
I believe I believe that you had to experience the things you experienced to be who you are today, to make that 100%. Difference. Otherwise you couldn't 100%. Be doing it, and so to me, we just have to look through the darkness to find the light, is the way I kind of like to put it.
100%. And that makes us who we are.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
I'll give you a little tangent story. I during Corona, I went through a pretty big depression because then I got my identity robbed of me. I wasn't making any money. My bank accounts were being drained, having brick and mortar businesses and no tourism on the island. Many of us did not do well during Corona financially. It was a squeeze there's a global recession, unless you owned a company that sold masks, or vaccines, but other than that, everybody else was hurting. So, it was tough. And, I got a motorcycle and started dating models again, because I was just like, it was an energetic relapse, I would say, because I needed something. And it's so funny because we'll go through waves and circles of this. So yeah, I got a motorcycle and I was dating these models, and it was just like the sticky energy again that, I needed thrills, and I was bored and I was depressed, and, I wasn't practicing much yoga anymore. I was lifting weights, and, it was just like the energy was yucky. And I called in a crazy bad motorcycle accident. Somebody pulled out on the highway while I was doing 80 without looking. There's 100% his fault. And he pulled this 20-year-old kid driving a work truck, pulls out across 2 lanes without looking. I smoke him. I break both my legs, my pelvis, my elbow, my Achilles, rupture my Achilles, rupture my bladder, concussion. Bad. I was awake the whole time. Extremely lucky to be alive. This was September 12th, 12:30 a.m. I was driving home from that model's house, and bad. And it was really extremely difficult. And I was awake the entire time. And that's when my training kicked in, where it was like, okay, calm your breath. Okay, get help. Okay, I told 6 people what to do. You call an ambulance, you get my bike out of the road, you take photos of the crime scene, you get my keys, you find my helmet. My helmet exploded on impact to save my life in Indonesian, because I learned Indonesian while I'm going through shock. There's bones sticking out of my leg. My leg's bent sideways. I'm in the most excruciating pain I've ever been in. And so it was okay, this is what you're going through right now. Okay, I got into the ambulance. Finally, it was extremely painful to pick me up off the ground. I thought I broke my back because my pelvis was broken and hinged. And they put me in the ambulance. I'm looking at the ceiling of the ambulance. I'm like, okay, God, I guess this is happening. And I just accepted it. Okay, this is what I called in. This is what I'm supposed to go through. Okay. And it was a crazy moment to have that thought while I'm like in the most excruciating pain. I was just like, so be it. If I'm paralyzed for life, this is what I'm meant to be going through. Okay. And it sucked because it was so bad and it was so traumatic. When I was going in and out of the MRI machine, it was the worst pain I've been in. I was having a huge trauma response, but I knew how to deal with trauma at this point. Okay. Cry if you need to. scream if you need to, breathe it out. But then they go, okay, we're going to give you painkillers. I'm like, yes, please. They're like, okay, we're giving you fentanyl. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is the cosmic joke. Hey, this is what I'm supposed to go through. This is the full circle. Okay, I'm not saying no to it. There's bone sticking out of my leg. Let's do this.
Right.
And they give me fentanyl. I'm like, this again, interesting. They're not enjoying it because I'm in the worst pain of my life. I definitely need it. I'm not going to say no to it. I go through 5 surgeries. I'm in the hospital for 17 days. I can't move. My legs and arms are in casts. It's crazy, crazy, weird time to be through that. And then I get out of the hospital. I'm in a wheelchair for 3 months, totally, like handicapped, living life as a handicapped person, taking showers out of sinks. I can't go to the bathroom by myself. People are picking me up off the toilet. My close friends are taking care of me. I'm then learning how to walk on 2 crutches for 6 months. My leg re-breaks on while I'm training, and the pin snaps because they didn't have the right piece of metal. So then it's 8 more months of recovery. I then am on fly back to Vancouver, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to surprise my family for my cousin's wedding. And I'm on 2 crutches. They all think I couldn't make it because of the accident. This is June coming around, and I had to do a lot of work because I'm like, okay, well, I want to show my family how much I love them. I want to show up for this wedding, but Vancouver is toxic for me. I didn't think I could make it back there. I didn't think I could, be back there. I don't want to show up handicapped. I want to show up as a hero. I don't want to go back to my home city as, this handicapped person on 2 crutches. And I'm having the crutches that, look like Timmy from South Park. They're not like under the armpit crutches. They're the arm crutches. I look ridiculous. I'm this fully tattooed guy on 2 crutches. It's embarrassing. To fly back handicap, they're wheeling me around the airport. This is big for my ego. I'm supposed to be a boss.
Right.
Now I'm freaking handicapped. This is hard for my ego. It's really difficult. And I had to do all the work. I did breath work. I did hypnotherapy. I did counseling sessions. I did everything I could to prep me for Vancouver because this was a big deal for me. It was it hurt my nervous system even thinking about going back like this. And I'm worried about relapsing. It's been 6.5 years clean, and I'm going to go back like this. And I'm on pain meds already. I'm on morphine, and I'm on a controlled dose. And I'm doing well with it, but that's the belly of the beast for me. That's the furnace. Oh, fuck. So I show up and I surprise my family, and they're so excited to see me. They're just so happy that I showed up like that. But before I went, I was telling this counselor, I'm like, look, I'm going to go back because I want to show my family how much I love them, that I would fly back handicapped because they mean that much to me. She goes, so you're going to train, because I needed to train to do this. I needed to get walking well enough to be able to fly, which was a lot of work. I was training 6 days a week. And she goes, okay, but would you train this hard because you love you that much?
Bam,
and I was like,
that's a powerful question, man. Wow.
I started crying instantly. It was like deep. The self-love aspect is the core root of it all. I think that's why we do so much drugs and crazy shit, because of our issues with self-love and validation and our own confidence.
So true.
Exactly. And I had to build that. So when I show up back to Vancouver with a deeper sense of self-love and actually some pride that I made it that far through what I made it through, the amount of suffering I endured, that I was able to get through it with skill, with the amount of love for myself, it made myself just respect me more. And when I showed up, and I stopped looking at me in any way of victimhood of just like, I could take this. I got this. I'm still going to keep my shit together through this. I can do this. And every step I take hurts, but I can make it. I can deal with this. This too. I can take this also and still be a high level human. My family was so happy I showed up, and I was supposed to only be back for 20 days because I had a whole, physio rehab setup in Bali. I have a team. I have all my people. I have 3 businesses there. I have a life there. It's paradise. And Vancouver's toxic for me. And I got back and I'm staying at my parents' place, and it just bloomed. It's like the world opened for me to come back here. It showed me the signs from the universe was your purpose is here. You're meant to help people here. I started coaching drug dealers to get them out of the game. One of my friends wanted to open a business. I said, I'll help you. I'll show you how to open up a shop for free. Don't worry about it. He's like, will you partner with me? I'll give you half the business. I'll pay for everything. I'm like, yep, that's a good deal for me. I get a business handed to me. I see my ex-girlfriend from before the one who left to Bali with me, that I always had a deep connection with, but I was too chaotic to even deal, And we saw each other again, and it was like, yeah, I should marry her. And it was like, wow, I had love fall in my hands. I had a surgery to fix my leg fall in my hands. One of my friends gave me a BMW M6. He's like, here's a car while you're here. So it's like, yeah, like I to borrow. And I just had all these things given to me because I came with the intention of service and love. I'm just going to come here and love my family and show people that I need to love the people I love. And then the world just opened for me because I came back and did the work and met my trauma. And now I was like, okay, I'm on painkillers, but I have no issues with them. Like it's crazy because I came to a deeper place of love that I can take the painkillers. I have metal in all my body right now, but I'm able to actually deal with it skillfully. It's like I had to come full circle and able to meet this in a different state as a different me, and like replay this level. Vancouver, Aren, I had to like replay this level as a new me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is incredible, man. But that's awesome. I mean, so did you stay there? I mean, at that point, or did you go back?
Vancouver?
Yeah.
I'm here right now. I'm in Vancouver right now.
So you were done at that point with Bali, or are you going to go back there ever?
I'm going to go back in about February. I got 3 businesses there, so I do need to go back.
Still operating everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're still going. Yeah. I'm managing them remotely with my team, and I love Bali, but I feel like the phase has shifted for me because I have more purpose here in North America.
Right. Yeah.
I'll be doing speaking, coaching. I'm coaching CEOs and create, like I'm coaching CEOs. And yesterday I coached a Playboy Playmate. It's just like crazy, weird things are opening up to me. My level of spirituality and God and trust expanded vastly since I've been back, and I've been praying more. I've been feeling more connected to life and loving life after going through such trauma of the accident. I love life deeper. I love people more. Everything is juicier, and it's showing in the opportunities coming my way. And it was crazy because like even last month I went to the temple by myself when no one's there. It was really nice. I had the whole place to myself, and I just prayed and meditated, and in my head I just thought, I want to serve deeper. I just want to be able to serve more people. And the next day, my friend Lucas Matke, he's a pretty big breathwork guy, close buddy of mine. He's like, hey, I'm going to go do breathwork at the Aubrey Marcus Fit for Service retreat. Do you want to come and tag along? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, it's this Friday. I'm like, okay, canceling my whole schedule, flying to go meet them in Sedona. And I get tag along to Aubrey Marcus's home ranch, and I'm able to go meet all these amazing people. And he's like, yeah, come along. And I'm like, I don't know anyone here except my friends, and I'm just tagging along where they have something to do. And I was able to be pulled in and accepted into that community. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Cool. I was meant to be there. And I had brilliant ideas come through with the breathwork sessions. And it was because of the intention. My intention was altruistic. I wanted to serve. And then the universe was serving me to help me serve. That is so amazing to see that, how the universe works. You know what I mean?
Oh man, no kidding. I think that's one thing that I think the most, I don't know, I'm speaking just with some assumptions, obviously, and from my experience a little bit, is something that it's becoming more mainstream, I believe, the last several years, to recognize the energy and what that really controls everything, based on what we put out comes about. I mean, once you look at that and understand it, you can literally look at different people and yourself and see kind of how you act or they act and what's going on in their lives, right? Mm-hmm. And it's so crazy because I've experienced both ways, where when your intention is set and you've got yourself in the right places, I mean, you're the best example of what you've talked about, how everything just opened up and how opportunity and situations just seem to continue to just fall into your lap. In certain, areas of life, whatever, any area, just things can change simply by attitude. And, and I think that your meditation and that the breath work and stuff is a huge part of that, because too often we just stay stuck and, keep so busy with focusing on the wrong things and, and never
not
taking the time for ourselves, like you said.
Yeah.
So my question is, when you had that counselor tell you, you talked about going home to show your family how much you loved them, and she asked, wanting to show yourself how much you love yourself or whatever, what would you suggest to the people out there?
Oh yeah.
Who, may even not know that's an issue, but for most of us it is.
Totally.
What would be one or two things to focus on that would really help somebody, because really it all comes into that inner work. I mean, that's what we have to do,
Yeah.
you know, to really get to that level and bring that spirituality into our lives and really become who God meant us to be and who hopefully we want to be.
Absolutely.
You know?
I love that. I love that. And I kind of had to work this out for myself. So I'll share what worked for me. And I feel like it's quite general. It'll work for everyone in the sense is we have to deepen the connection to ourself. And so, yeah, we're trying to connect to all these things output. You know, we want girlfriends and families and businesses and whatever we want output outside of us. That will only be able to manifest when we match it with our input, with the things that we're connecting with inside of us. So our connection to God, our connection to our health, our connection to our thoughts and the quality of our mind, the quality of our heart, the quality of our intentions, that will then reflect in the quality of our actions and then the reactions from the universe. So we need to be really be mindful of our input, what is coming inside of us and how we're dealing with that. That will then be able to be manifested with what comes to us. And so I really had to then look at what was the quality of my heart. Okay, am I loving deeply life? Am I loving deeply with people? Am I loving deeply with the things around me and myself? And then, okay, the quality of my heart, good. Quality of my mind. I really need to make sure my thoughts are positive, that I'm not dwelling on negativity, that I'm being present in the moment, that I'm remembering to breathe and just be here, that I'm remembering while I'm driving, not to be going on tangents. I'm just be there, just be with what you are and think quality things. In the morning, think of how you want your day to go and meditate. At the end of the day, reflect on how the day went and thank God for what you got and celebrate the positives. Reading, I have to I listen to books. I'm too busy and my attention span sucks, so I don't read too much. So I'm listening to books while I'm driving. I'm constantly taking in new information that's going to be advantageous for me, because when I'm learning, I'm happy, and that makes me feel good if I'm learning things I want to learn. And make sure I'm being healthy. Like I invest in trainers, I invest in health. I make sure I do. I spend almost dying is expensive, man. Learning how to walk again is expensive, but it's a good ROI. I mean, walking is good. I really enjoy it. It turns out I'm attached to my legs. I want them to be working. So that input, that self-love aspect was so important. And now the more I appreciate my life, the more I'm happy. I've never actually been happier. I don't remember, other than when I first got clean in Bali and started opening businesses, the very first 2 years where it was like a skyrocket of my development. I was extremely happy then because I made it. I saved my own life. And I was like, good, I did it for myself, because I did it for me. And I took a risk on me to go make it in another place. I was really happy then. And then I went through a period of kind of chaos, like a corona, all this stuff, health issues, breakups, whatever. And then now again, going through a really deep trauma and then investing in myself and doing it for me. And then there's another big launch up. So I think the formula for self-love and happiness is having a mission to heal yourself, having a goal. And you can do that in, say, running a marathon or something. Okay, I'm going to work on me for this, or finishing a course or a class or a new career or something, a goal, a mission. And then you working on yourself and investing in your habits and time. So study habits, or going for meditation times, going to yoga classes, going to the gym, getting a trainer, whatever it is, those things that'll help you get there. So we can science this out. We can really get really practical on building self-love. And then it's the quality of your mind and heart. Okay, are you studying emotional intelligence? Are you studying mindset? Are you studying, how to let go of grief and trauma and resentment? And, are you forgiving people in your life? Are you not helping on, or do you have good spiritual hygiene? Are you clearing yourself out of shit that's going to just pull you back? Okay. And then are you actively using it? Are you applying what you're learning in life? So are you connecting to the people around you deeper? Are you setting time to go and take care of your mother, or your father? Are you then taking time to really listen to people? Are you actively listening and then giving advice and love and connection to people? Great. That'll help. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you going to the gym? Are you going to yoga? Are you eating well? Are you, not smoking heroin? Those things will be helpful.
Well, because all those little things that you're finally doing for yourself, regardless how small or how big, those are wins, you know, those are things
Yeah.
that start to bring that confidence and really make you feel better.
You got to rack up the wins. You got to celebrate the
Exactly.
wins,
Yeah.
even the
And I
small
think-
ones.
Yeah,
Even just getting up
exactly.
early and or getting up on time that you set your time. Rack up that win. Celebrate yourself. I had to
Yep.
do that with me. It was okay. You did good. You know, like you did good that day. You know, or like being in integrity. You know, I didn't have a
Yes.
good connection with integrity to myself. I was a drug dealer. I was like living like a rap music video. It was like, yeah, girlfriend, side chick, whatever you pick up at the club with your buddies. It was just icky. And I didn't have a good connection with integrity. And I now enjoy being good. Like I enjoy being a good guy. And that made me feel good now. But before I
Right.
wondered why I constantly needed to do drugs and felt shitty about myself.
Yeah, just
because
empty.
I would continue. Exactly.
It's crazy.
Can I ask you, what was your poison? I want to know a little bit about your depth of darkness. Well, give me
Everything
a
you
snapshot.
talk about has resonated big time because I was just a pain pill guy. I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 1987, and
Oh wow.
and I'm in Utah. Grew up in Utah, Mormon, and went on a Mormon mission, and that's when I was having all these stomach cramps and pains in the morning, and dude, talk about losing weight and being skeletal. I think, I'm a 19-year-old and I didn't want to go, if I'm being honest, but that's the thing you do. You don't want to disappoint the family and be looked down upon and blah, blah, blah. And so I go and
family pressure.
Exactly. And just the culture around here. And thank God it's shifted, but it's still pathetic, frankly. But
Fair.
And so these gut aches just kept happening to me, and like cramps hard in the mornings usually. But fast forward, doctors can't figure anything out. And it was so bad that when I was starting to communicate, I was going to go home to my dad, particularly. And I had a girlfriend I was in love with, and, her dad sent me a nasty letter. And if I came home, I'm not worthy of blah, 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 all this bullshit. And my dad told me similar things about, you'll know what it's like to pay your own rent, and just crazy stuff, honestly, as I look back at it, and I know my father, obviously, he passed a few years ago, but he realized he realized it was a huge mistake because he ended up flying out to get me. And I went out at $153 is all, 5'10". And when he showed up, I was about $124.
Whoa.
And that was only 3.5 months.
Oh, wow.
That's all I was gone. And
yep.
When he saw me, put it this way, when I told him I was thinking of coming home, he finally said, it's between you and God, basically. And as crazy as it sounded to the Mormon culture, and I don't mean to pick on them, but I kind of do because they're lost in a lot of ways.
Fair.
And he said, it's between you and the Lord. And I, honest to goodness, like I had an ego. I wasn't going to go home and be a quitter.
Yeah.
If I didn't feel like it was 100% the right thing to do for me, I would have just sucked it up and dealt with the next year and a half and gone home, at the normal time. So he then said, because I told him, I know I'm supposed to come home. And this is like March, early March. And the church has a biannual general conference every April and October. So he tells me that if I stick it out through conference, he'll accept it, because he's thinking that I'm going to hear something just magical. The Spirit's just going to pierce my soul to make me stay.
It's going to fix you.
Exactly. Without even considering that.
Yeah.
It's a health issue, but
what you're
in
going
all fairness, no one truly knew that, including myself.
Sure.
Knew something was up, but I still didn't know what, and I didn't know how bad I looked. Anyway, so I was so depressed, dude. I was living each day just to get to sleep for the next day.
Yeah.
And one day I woke
Sleep's
up.
where you have solace.
I was just literally buying time to get through that weekend, the first weekend of April, so I could go home. And I'm with a companion, they call it, and luckily he was a good dude. And one morning he's showering, and I just I didn't think anything. I wasn't looking like to kill myself. I just wanted to be sick. I wanted to sleep, man. Just to sleep till it's time to go. And so I just got up and went to the kitchen, took a whole handful of aspirin. So I want to just be sick. And, and then he gets up, we get dressed, I shower, get dressed, and we go out and visit a couple that we've been teaching. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to feel kind of crappy. My ears are ringing. and we're driving back to our apartment for lunch, and I'm behind him on my bike, and I was starting to have a freaking nervous breakdown, I guess. As soon as we got to our apartment, I went in the bedroom, and I remember just laying on the bed and grabbing my sheets because I was ready to just freaking freak out.
Yeah.
And so I was, at this point, I'm an emotional wreck, and my companion comes in, is like, "What's up, Cloward?" And I told him what I did, and he's like, "Oh, he got me to drink a glass of soapy water to throw up. Hell, it's been 3 hours, the stuff's already in my system. So it's not like I'm going to throw up any pills," but I wasn't thinking that stuff. So I did. Anyway, I had a guy come and take us to the hospital, and, they tried to figure some things out, couldn't figure anything out. At this point, my dad was called, and he was on a plane the next morning. And
as
soon as he saw me, like, he started to bawl.
Was after that the pills, like
Absolutely.
the continued addiction?
Yeah,
What I learned, have you probably have heard of Dr. Gabor Mate and some of his work on addiction?
Actually, I have.
Oh, you will love him. Oh my God, he's from Vancouver,
Really?
but he's world famous now. He's probably the forefront of addiction recovery doctors.
Oh, wow.
Who studied the most about it. And his book, Hungry Ghosts, The Realm of Hungry Ghosts. He's incredible. He's extremely intelligent and he's just the dude. He's the godfather of this. He's been working in the downtown east side of Vancouver, which is the worst open air drug market on the planet. It's the worst on the planet. It's the craziest drug problem on the planet here. It's incredible. It is astounding. It's a land of the living dead. You walk, everyone's zombies. It's probably
that's
1,000 drug addicts in one area. It's astounding. So he was talking about this and what drugs we do because of what emotional pains or which type of, and opiates are usually, not always, but usually the connection to the father, usually connection to the parents, especially, but a lot of men, because of their association and connection with a disconnect with the healthy masculine and having mentors or having a strong connection to their father, missing that love connection. Opiates fit perfectly chemically and neurochemically to those pathways. It's like the hug, they fit in perfect. So you're just pain-free for a minute. Emotional pain, especially.
I can totally
it quells
see that.
the emotional pain. So it's just like getting a warm blanket that we never got, or that hug from the dad that we never got because we were always not enough or a fuck up or whatever, and I felt that. And so when I remember, that's what opiates did for me. Cocaine was what I never exactly really liked the feeling of cocaine. It was never like, it just always made me a little anxious. I just did it to stay awake, or when I've been drinking with my buddies, like partying, but it never was my thing. And cocaine, speed, meth, those are usually for people who have an issue with staying still, or understimulated. And so maybe they weren't validated enough and they didn't have the right stimulation and they want to be stimulated. So they're just on, and that fits that end of it. But the dopamine, missing the dopamine and the hugs and the oxytocin is opiates, heroin.
Wow, that's crazy. Because I've never even heard a relation to drug based on things that are going on in that person's life, but I could totally see that. Like, I had a great dad, and a great life, but he, was an entrepreneur. He was a very successful dentist. So he was really missing a lot, and he was still very big, he's involved in the community. I mean, I hear a lot about dentists being emotionally cold.
They're just like precise.
He was very much that way, very, very, very analytical and but once again, it was there was something there, and there's a lot of other things that went on with the full service car wash he built that I ended up dropping out of college to run, which ended up being a great experience for me and a great opportunity, which really kind of catapulted me in a lot of different things in my life as an entrepreneur, but and the connections. But I think it was a difficult situation because I also know how much that hurt him financially, and a lot of traumas he went through as well. And so it was, now that he's gone, there's times, and I've done a lot of real estate deals, but he was a real estate developer. That was his hobby.
Cool.
Very successful at it. I mean, big projects. And
amazing.
As I was involved in some of that, I was a real estate appraiser for 14 years. And I think, man, why couldn't we ever just sit down? And I never was able to ask him, well, geez, how did you come across this property or that? I didn't ever learn any of that stuff from him. And I would love to have those conversations, just because here he is, busy as heck, but yet,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
he'd get calls from
Yeah.
whoever partnered on a development or the builder and his dental office, and he's, you know, trying to scramble away to deal with that. It's fascinating to look back at it. And as my sister did his funeral, I was like blown away, you know, hearing all that he did,
Yeah.
you know, but at the same time, then you go, but
Where was
what
my time?
matters? What really matters, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah,
he,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it was not to get off on my story too much, but I'll wrap this up. Just
no, but I'm
give my
interested
dad credit because
Yeah.
you know, I did have a very good life,
Yeah.
you know, overall, but I found a letter he wrote me in 1998 that I don't ever remember getting. And found it about 3.5 years ago. Had a son getting married, and there was a bin of photos that they were getting together a bunch of photos for, you know, a thing they were going to have at the reception, and this letter was in there, and he gave it to me, and I read it and didn't even remember receiving it before. Now, granted, I was using it at that time, that probably played into it, but
Yeah.
the bottom line to what he was asking is, you know, I don't know what's happened, but and then he gave examples of his parents and his resentments, but then he realizes they got older, they just did the best they knew how, and that's what he was saying, you know, I've done the best I know how, and so that was very healing, you know.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's interesting about the opiates, because I can see that.
Yeah,
Totally.
it's true. And also what I like about that, and for anyone listening, it doesn't have to be all our fault. And yes, taking responsibility is number one. It's the number one thing that helped me get clean, was taking responsibility for my actions in my life.
100%.
But also to let yourself off the hook in the way that we're not fuck ups. There was cause to our actions. There was predetermined things, or things that we went through at a developmental age, that then skewed and predetermined us to have these addictions, or susceptible to addictions, and say gang life and criminal activities, or sex addictions, or whatever, anxiety, depression,
eating, whatever,
even pettiness, even to be emotionally immature, because we dealt with these things at a young developmental age, that now it's our responsibility to fix. Of course, no one else is going to fix this for us. We got to do the work, but to see why it happened, to see our origin story. That's interesting. And so I've seen that with, like, say, my mom and her like petty side. Indian moms can be a little bit, you know, I'm sure you don't know that, but you know what I mean? It's a thing. And same with my Spanish friends' moms. They can just be a lot. And I don't mean that in a racist way. I just mean that from my experiences of being deeply rooted in these cultures, knowing them.
You know, it's crazy. And so, not to cut you off, but we're at a place in society that you, and I'm not calling you out, because I feel the same way, and I think it's total bullshit that you have to say that after. I have to say that. Yeah, I'm not a racist. You know what I mean? I get it. I mean, we're all in that place, but it's pathetic. But anyways.
Yeah, and you know, I have a lot of gay friends, and I love gay guys. They're my homies. But I see there's a lot of drug addiction in that world too, because not having the right connection to healthy masculine, being different, being ostracized, that then the behavior that we have to go through helps us, hurts us in a way that it's like, man, we didn't know how to deal with that at a developmental age. So drugs fit that part to help quell that, but it doesn't work. It won't work. But we need to then be able to then build the systems in our lives to deal with the emotional, the trauma, the pain, and also what comes up in the day-to-day, because people become addicts usually because of the past. Then they stay addicts because it's hard to stay clean when new life shit happens, because suffering is a part of life. So we need to be able to deal with the suffering. So we have to build the systems in our lives to not suffer. But we can look back at the origin stories, because then I look at it now and I'm like, okay, I see my mom and some of the stuff that she does, and she's a food addict. She's quite overweight, and I can see, I can see where I got a little bit of addictive patterning for her. And also the emotional volatility. Okay, my dad, he doesn't know how to deal with his emotions. Okay, I can see them. God bless them. They made me. I love them. I'm here to help my family. But I can see where I learned certain behaviors, and then to unravel them, be like, that's not me. I'm not taking that on anymore. I'm going to be my own person who's going to be emotionally intelligent and sovereign and caring and loving and kind and brilliant in my own ways. So I'm going to develop that part of me. I'm going to not feed that that part of me. I'm going to feed this part of me, and I'm going to really stick to the behaviors that promote this part of me I love and like. And when I started my life over, and I'm like, I don't want to be a drug dealer anymore. I want to be someone who's devoted to service and people like because of the heart he has, not because of the things I have. And I started feeding that dog. I'm going to do this thing, and we can choose that. And that's what I love about it, is anybody who's gone through some shit, and I'm sure all of us have, the people listening, all of us have, we all got our shit. We can choose to heal that and feed the parts of us we love. So the parts of you want to nurture the kind parts, do kind things, nurture the fit and healthy parts, do fit and healthy things. You know, don't feed the petty and traumatic and the weak parts of you. Don't feed them. Then you see them come up, be like, I'm going to choose not to do that part. You starve them out. And that's how it works. That's how it worked for me. And I think that's valuable for everyone. To think that way. That's
beautiful. I think one thing you said too is, you know, being accountable, but also not, you know, not hanging on to that, or really shaming yourself, you know, and having guilt around those things. Just accept them and let it be, you know.
Exactly. Guilt and shame, they suck our creative elements dry. And
it's rampant in our culture, in the Mormon culture, it's rampant.
Exactly. And then the creativity is just sucked. And then you just conform, and then you're unhappy because you have this festering, you know, discontent within you because you're not being creative. And creation is a massive part of our being. We're meant to create. That's in alignment to the universe. The universe is an ever creating expansion element. We need to be able to align to that. So if we're not doing that, we're decaying, which is the other element of the universe. It's winter or spring. It's expansion or contraction. So we need to stay in expansion, because otherwise we'll be contracting. And that's so important to see that is, you know, there's a couple of really good books I wanted to also,
that was going to be my last question was,
really? Oh, great.
What are two books that you'd recommend that have really had an impact on you?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, the ones I wanted to leave you with, that the listeners, I think my favorite one right now is Synchrodestiny by Deepak Chopra. And it helps me really think in a way that's in alignment to the universe, and then calling in things I want and seeing the signs that the universe is giving you that you're going the right direction, that you're in alignment. Synchrodestiny. I've listened to it 3 times now, and it's so powerful. It's just, everybody I tell to listen to it, they love it. It's just amazing. That one's amazing. I'd say for the present moment, because we've been talking about this a lot, for people to be cool with the present moment. No Mud, No Lotus by Thich Nhat Hanh, and Mindful Living by Thich Nhat Hanh. He's an amazing Buddhist monk from Vietnam. He just passed away recently, but he's like the godfather of mindfulness. He's incredible.
What was that last one?
Mindful Living.
Okay, Mindful Living.
And but the book that started me was super fluffy. The one that like helped me shift was the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. And I was a drug dealer at the time, and I was like the drug dealer who sold his Benz. And it was like it was a fluffy story, but it had gold in it to help me see that there's a world of possibilities outside of myself to manifest through spirituality. It was cool. I like that one.
That's great.
And one last one for business, because I'm sure there's a lot of Christian listeners that this book's cool. You don't have to be Christian to love it, but I think Christians will definitely love it. It's called The Business Secrets of the Trappist Monks. And it's about these monks that are Christian monks, and they built a business to $30 million that are selling cheese and beer. And they made like craft artisanal cheese at their monastery. It's somewhere in the States. And they showed that their like devoted practice and business ethics from their faith brought into business grew into a $30 million business because they stayed about their morals and their practice. And I just thought it was so interesting. It's a cool book, and it's a great story. And you then want to do better business when you listen to it. And it's aligned to faith. That's what it's cool. You know, I think anybody can appreciate that book, but Christians will definitely appreciate it because it's really about the best parts, in my opinion, of your faith. It's super cool. So
that's cool.
It's awesome.
Well, I sure appreciate your time. Where can people find you, Aren?
Instagram is my best method. Ink, Pray, Love, like Eat, Pray, Love. That's why I have that Instagram name, because that changed my life. And my website, www.arenbahia.com. I coach people to transition, and I like to coach CEOs, entrepreneurs that want to have a more spiritual, tap into their spiritual power to produce better external results. I really enjoy doing that. That's fun for me. So I love connecting with my clients. I love connecting with people that want to launch businesses and just need to tune themselves and have good business plans for their expansion. I love that. It's my favorite thing.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's right in alignment with my audience. So that's great. Well, Matt, I sure appreciate your time. We'll stay in touch, but I'd like to have you back in a few months too. And
got it.
There's so many different things I think we could talk about that really make a difference for people. So appreciate it.
I'm happy to. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Take care. Talk to you later.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
If you're a small business owner and want to acquire 5-star Google reviews on autopilot, Backbone CRM is the platform for you. It is the review and messaging platform for local business. It not only will get you your reviews on autopilot, it makes it easier to convert leads, message customers, get paid all in one place. Not only that, but Backbone will allow you to convert more website visitors into leads and more sales conversations with web chat. You can manage your messages with a single inbox for text, Facebook message, Google messages, web chats, email, and a whole other slew of social platforms. It'll also give you the opportunity, if you miss a call, to automatically text back. So when you're away, Backbone will follow up via text so you never lose another customer. You can grow your audience and know where each and every lead is coming from. Backbone is the all-in-one place platform to get you more leads and customers and Google reviews on autopilot. In fact, one of our clients that we onboarded last week, the day after we launched their company with Backbone, they received 5-star Google reviews the very next day, and they all came in within a 25-minute span. They were blown away. So if you're not afraid of getting more customers to your business, check out the short demo video at www.backbonecrm.io. That's backbonecrm.io, or you can give us a call at 888-668-5338.